Hello and welcome back to Andian Autos Motorsport. I believe this is part 5 of the Clio 182 engine build, and today we've got the cylinder head back on the bench. Now it's been to the machine shop, it's come back, but this weekend is the Autosport show at the NEC in Birmingham. Now, if you're not in England, you might not know what that is. If you're not in England, you might know what that is. And if you're in England, you still might not know what that is. But it's a yearly thing that they have, early part of January. I know this is the middle part when this is being recorded, but this weekend it's on. And it's a great big show event for everyone. Anyone to do with autosport, 2 wheels, 4 wheels, engine builders, absolutely everyone. And to be honest, I'm not there, which is a bit of a choker, but I didn't organise myself, so that is entirely my fault. I plan to be there next year, but what's basically happened is my Snap-on rep has gone as one of the reps for the Snap-on stand. So, good on you, mate. You know, you're my local area rep, and if you're good enough to be invited to the NEC, I'm going to deem that as a good area rep. But on the same token, he comes round on Friday. It's a 4-day show over the weekend, so it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I didn't see him because he'd gone. Now, where I'm going with this is, last week when I saw him, I ordered a 5 kilo tub of Soda Blast medium, so I can clean these exhaust ports. Well, guess what? I haven't seen him and I haven't got it. So when you're looking at this, there's probably going to be a bit of dirt on the face of combustion chamber. Most of it I've removed with what I can. Now, I'm not using any abrasives, and I'm specifically not using any abrasives because in the rules it says no modification. Now, I've been on the receiving end before when I've used, I'm not talking like a sanding disc or nothing. I think I've got one here. What I'm on about? Yeah. I'm talking about these. And they're brilliant and they work really well. And if it was a road car, I'd say use that. It's far cheaper, it's far quicker. I'm not going to say it's maybe better, but you do scuff up the aluminium whilst using them. So for a road car, that's not really an issue. But I've been on the receiving end of a scrutineer. It's not scrutineer's fault, and I'm not slagging scrutineers off, because without them we couldn't race. But he was trying to enforce a rule, which, fine, they had the rule there for a reason, but the clarity of the rule was a little bit open. Now, it said about cleaning it, and it said about no modifications, and he took it that when I'd basically decoked this cylinder head, that I'd modified it by using one of them. It wasn't like a sandpaper abrasive wheel. It was one of these. I've lost it now. It's in the bag. It was one of them wire wheels. And after about 2 or 3 scrutineers looking at it, I got let off and told don't do it again. Which, fine, okay. You've got rules to go to, but really, mate, come on, you know, but we're not going there. This isn't a video about me having issues, but it's happened in the past. That's why I'm going with the Soda Blaster, and it's an unabrasive cleaning medium, much the same as your petrol or your diesel or whatever you use, acetone. Brake cleaner, it's unabrasive. It doesn't take any material off, it doesn't scuff any material up. So that's a 5.5 minute backstory, but as you can see, I've been waving an intake valve about, obviously cleaned, ready to go back in. This is going to be lapping valves. Now 1001 people will tell you that you're doing it wrong. I'm going to do the way that's always worked for me, and basically we're going to go from there. So without further ado, I've got my lapping stick. Now, due to angles and trying to get the best recording angle, I'm going to try and not bash the camera. Now, I can't promise that, but I'm going to try. So here we go. Just sprayed some WD-40 in the end. Squeeze it on, and now we're attached. Grab a light. Try and stand the light up over there. Oh yeah, magnets don't stick on aluminium, do they? Okay, well, I'm going to do the best with what I've got. So what if I move that and stick that there? Is that better? Sort of. Right. Valve lapping paste. Valve grinding paste. Simonise, that's the fine end, that's the coarse end. I've not got much left on the coarse end. And I've hardly touched the fine end. Now, this is as simple as it gets. Try and not bash the camera. The shiny part there, move that out of the way. That shiny part there is the valve seat, and that shiny part in there is the valve seat. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little screwdriver, just lay that down in the valve grinding paste, scoop a tiny bit out. That's probably too much. And just go around the edge. Now the valve has valve grinding paste on it. Make sure that this is clean and dry with my rag somewhere. There we go. Now drop the valve in, and literally with two hands, one either side, now I don't know how well the camera heard that, but when I first put it in, it made a real grindy noise. That's good. And by the end, it had stopped. Come on. I don't know how well it's going to come out, but there is now a clean line around the middle. And there's also a clean line in there. So just grab a tiny bit. Any excess that's dropped down, scoop up, drop it on. And go again. Ah, there we go. She's starting. Now that's popped off twice. And when camera's not probably going to pick this up, so I've got it on. I'm going to put a very tiny black mark on here and here. I don't know if that's going to come out, but if I grab the valve stick, my stick is now moving on the top of the valve and the valve isn't. What that means, and what that's telling me, is that the two, I'll do it like that, the two angles, so you've got the seat here and the valve here, before they could have been slightly like that, slightly open either way, or they could have been like that or like that. Well, just in that very short space of time, where I've rubbed them together, and that stuff is like sand, it's an abrasive, so it basically wears the metal away till they're perfectly flat. Now when they're perfectly flat, there's no air gap, and it will stick, and it will be trying to think of an example. I'd say slip gauges, but possibly not everyone will understand slip gauges. But much like the theory of the sucker on the top, once you've pushed all the air out and it's just two bits of metal on pushing against each other, when they're perfectly flat, they've got maximum grip. And that's what's happening here. So if I now take this out, point that down, that's better, correct. Here, grab the torch, there's a very, very clear line around, and the same in here. So this valve's basically done. Just clean the excess off. Grab another valve. Might not be so easy to tell in person, on camera, but in person. Oh, that hasn't worked. Thanks. But the two valves side by side, you can see this one's got a darker colour to it and less shiny, and this one's very shiny. This one's been cut into the seat, so that one now suits that. This is the point where we started with coarse. You can now go over to fine if you want, and I'm going to do it because it's I think it's going to be needed. So again, screwdriver, just take a little bit. Just smear it around the edge. You don't need loads, you don't need to get excited, you don't need to put half a pot on there. And again, there we go. Now I was applying less force to it this time when I was lapping it, because otherwise it would have stuck up. So, less force and just work the valve backwards and forwards. Right, okay, now she's really stuck. And clean the valve off. And then we have it. A lovely, evenly cut valve seat. That's it. That is as simple as it gets. So what I'm going to do now, just to confuse the job, cam belt end, no, make it nice and easy. I'm now going to write 16 on this valve, or 8. There we go. So this is valve number 8, which is cam belt end intake. It's fairly obvious it's the intake, it's the bigger one. So that's that one done. Drop that back into its little holder and repeat 15 further times. Now the intakes are nice and easy to do. That took me, well, so far up to about 17 minutes of video, 18 minutes. To repeat this process on the intakes is going to take maybe 5 to 10 minutes of valve, no big issue. But the exhausts, because they've had burning hot gas go past them and carboned gas from the combustion process, this might take a little bit longer. So you can get through the intakes fairly quick. Don't try and rush this process, it takes as long as it takes. But the exhausts is where the time's going to be. Because if there's any sort of residue, not the correct word, if there's any sort of imperfections, it's going to take longer to get them correct. So I am now going to have such a fun time and do the next 15 valves and exactly the same as I did before. These are really cheap. As you can see, this one might have been used a few times. Got a cable tie on it because the ends turn, the ends do come off. There we go. So I'm going to put a cable tie on that end. It's a fairly simple process, but it's time taking. Yay, 15 more. Believe me, this isn't the worst step of building cylinder head. For me personally, the worst step is trying to put the collets back in, and not so much on the Clio or this F4R Clio, but if you've got a VTS Saxo the TU5J4. They're down in there and they've got a nice little cover around them, as I said in the previous video, and they're so much fun. And actually standing here looking at it, looking at the K20 from the Honda, got a spare cylinder head, they look really, really lovely and easy to do. And so the V8s, if you've got any flathead V8s, they're a beauty to do. But when you start getting small European stuff, the worst ones I've found are the either the Saxos or the 20 valve 1.8Ts, because there's quite a few of them in a small space. Yeah, that's about it. But we'll come to that in a later video, and you can watch me swear and curse and try and magnetise a screwdriver for it. So, if you like the video, please leave a like. If you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you very much for your time and for watching, and I'll see you again next episode. Ciao.